Good day, everybody. Again, my name is Eric Leyland, and thank you for jumping into this month's newsletter. Again, if you're first-time viewer, I talk all things digital advertising. I actually work at Simplify, and I help advertisers and agencies and brands with lots of different programmatic advertising. But one of the things that Simplify is known best for and known first for is geofencing. So there's a little bit of a rewind on some of the things that we do, but it's actually going to source into one of the really important conversations that I have with advertisers all the time, and it's around the understanding of diversification, right? So you may know of geofencing as the simplified thing that we do really well, which it is, which we're going to go into, but it fits inside some of the advertising pockets that, again, are really important. So if you look at the marketplace of advertising, if you look at the landscape right now, there's a lot that's happening. In 2026, as we look at it, there's just a ton of places that people are spending time. And I've been in this industry for almost 20 years now. And when I first started advertising with clients and working in a local area, it was radio was still a big thing. The phone books were actually still a thing, newspapers, magazines. And as clients were trying to make their brand work, they had to knit together their messaging across these different areas. So as we fast forward into 2026, and I've talked about this many times, but again, if you're new, there's really three core areas that make up the digital environment where people are spending time. So it's search, social, and then the rest of the web, as I've kind of called it over the years. And so when you look at these areas, these are all big pockets of time where people are going for search and to Google. AI is a big part of that. And you need to have a plan and a strategy to attack those environments because that's low-hanging fruit. People are actually looking for your service. But again, social media, all the mobile advertising, the social advertising areas, the connected TV areas, the streaming audio areas, all of these are bursting at the seams with options, and that's where people are spending a lot more of their time. So when you look at Google and you look at search and you look at AI, like that's the very tip of the iceberg, right? That's a little bit of what you see when that person actually needs it. But if you don't build your marketing to build your brand, to tell people why they should come to you, then that tip of the iceberg piece of it is going to be very, very small, right? You're only going to capture a marketplace that's very tiny and a fraction of what you want to. So when you're doing these other things, again, these areas of push marketing and social media and display and video and connected TV and geofencing, these are all areas where you're targeting audiences. Now, you want to be intelligent about it, right? Most of the people that I work with, they don't have an unlimited budget. So you have to be intelligent about where you're spending dollars, and location matters, right? So we want to make sure that your ads are landing in the right spot. So we want to start with that and then make sure that as we're looking at these different areas, these big pockets, that your message is resonating in those. So I'm going to talk through, again, some of the things that are going on through geofencing that are really important for you to understand. And you can read through this article. I'm going to hit some of the highlights that I think are important to take away. It's a longer article, so definitely take time to read through it all. I'm going to hit some of the big topics that I think are important. But when you look at geofencing, it is a bedrock solution that we offer, and it's one that, again, really helps to drive the location. So as you look at your business, one of the things that, going back to when I started, a lot of clients would do direct mail, right? So direct mail was a way to reach into the household with that piece of marketing material. So fast forward into 2026, we have that capability, but we can do it into the home in a digital environment, right? We're targeting those environments of the TV, the desktops, the tablets, the mobile devices. And your message is going to resonate much longer than just a piece of mail that you get in and it probably goes right to the shredder, right? So the digital environment helps to make sure that piece lands and we're enabling it to hit that home. And then we just have to find the homes that match up with your audience. And there's a couple different ways that we can go about that, which I'll talk about later. So, and when you look at it, again, you're really wanting to take that information of where my advertising is landing and make sure it's actually working. We were having a meeting earlier today. We were talking about reporting and return on investment, ROAS, all these fun metrics that we evaluate stuff. But you want to understand where your marketing is hitting and why it's hitting and why it may not be hitting, right? So if if you are diversifying your advertising into all these areas, you really want to make sure that you're monitoring what's going on with it to make sure that it's effective for you. And again, you're not going to be able to knit down every single dollar into a conversion. As much as we would love to be able to tell, every advertiser this is exactly where every dollar spent is getting you a return. It's just one of those things that in marketing, it's the old Wanamaker. I know that 50% of my marketing is working. I just don't know which. What we're trying to do is move the needle so that we can get higher on that number, so we can understand maybe where 60, 70, 80% of your marketing is working, so that we can make sure that we're informed about the places that we're spending your dollars and be better at allocating those resources that you're putting out there to get the right message at the right time to get the right results. So when we talk about that targeting of the audience, you really want to think about best practices with data, right? So there's a lot of changes if you follow the the marketing world, and there's going to be a lot in the future about what's happening with targeting and what states are doing with some of their regulations, and that's all changing the nature. And we have to, as a company and as a marketer, we have to change along with that. So we are really bent on or built on the understanding of transparency, right? If you have worked with us or if you haven't worked with us, this is a core principle that I personally have, and also the company Simplify has. And it's crucial that you understand what's going on with your campaign. So not only are we looking at the preciseness of the advertising and reporting on it, but then we're also looking at financially where the dollar is going, so where your dollars are going, what you're paying for it, and then also what are we doing with the data, right? It's important to be ethical with the data and make sure that we're doing things that are above reproach, so that we can make sure that you don't get in trouble, we don't get in trouble, and everything is copacetic. We're really again focused on transparency and ethical practices, which I love about again the platform that I get to work with. So, and the final thing here is looking at drawing together all these different areas. So as I was talking about before, as we sit here in 2026, there's a lot of ways that people are engaging on media. So again, geofencing speaks to delivering that ad geographically, but now where is it being delivered? As I talked about, mobile devices, connected TV, native advertising, display, video. These are all formats that the ad can now land. And so we're knitting all those things together to make sure that you, as it says here, have a unified approach. Again, the consistency and diversification are critical pieces to making sure that your message is resonating to the areas that you want. You want to be specifically targeting the right people at the right time, consistently and across a lot of places. So when you look at this, again, I'm not going to go through all the different things that are going on. We know that geofencing has been in the marketplace for a while. So again, I've been doing digital advertising since 2007. And I think about 2011, 2012 is when we started doing geofencing. And so I've been doing this practice for a long time. And it gets better with age because we can learn more. We can now apply it to different areas. Again, the mobile device has exploded. And so that really helps us to be able to make sure that your message is hitting, everybody. Everybody has, their mobile devices on them at all times. So, one of the important touch points on this is in this vein of everybody having a mobile device and data, right? If any of the apps are turned on in your phone, it's going to be picked up by these types of networks, right? So a lot of people, when I talk to them in this environment, they're like, well, with people turning off their privacy and all these things, then you're not going to be able to target it. That's not actually true, right? So if you have your weather app and it's geolocating you, your phone is now actively pinging. If you have any GPS on your phone, it's going to actively ping. Most of the devices that we have, even if you turn off the settings, it's still actively searching out to make sure that that person knows that, or that phone knows that that person's in that area so that it can give you accurate information. So these phones are almost useless if you don't have your geo targeting on, because at the end of the day, most of the apps that we get are sourcing information from the local area. Now, can there be a person that shuts everything down? Of course, you're going to have that, but it is by and large not a large percentage of the people that have their devices. So again, if that is a concern of yours, happy to talk to you about it. So when it comes to actually looking at these marketing campaigns and how it's actually working. So when I work with clients, when we go through reporting, and maybe I should have keyed one up for us here in this conversation, but as I was working with, as I work with my clients, it's really important to understand where people are coming from to your location. So if you're running geofencing, let's say you're doing competitors, you're doing areas that are similar to yours. So I'll give you the example of my client. So it's an apartment complex. So they actually target other apartment complexes around them. They also target hospitals. They target casinos. They target restaurants, high-end restaurants, because it's a luxury apartment. So now we can see where those pieces of the puzzle are coming into us. So as we see people, and one of the top ones actually right now is from the casino, we can see people from the casino see the advertising for my client, and then they're coming on site to my client's apartment complex. So now we can make informed decisions. So now we can take that information and, let's say, go run a marketing campaign around the casinos in the area to target more people. Or maybe that's the persona that, again, has shown interest in this luxury apartment in Philadelphia. So again, this type of information, these types of data sets are really important, but then my job is to sit there and go through that information so that we can be more informed. So as we look at the data that is coming through, we're looking at all these types of things to help your marketing campaign get more informed on what you can do into the future. Again, if you're just taking this data and not doing anything with it, you're missing out on a big piece of why marketing is really important for you, is to understand what's happening with your business. So is it effective, right? So when you look at geofencing, it really helps you to be able to hit the message in the right place at the right time. So we have the ability to hit these locations and be able to place your advertising in front of these. So going back to an earlier part of this conversation, when we talked about direct mail, right? We can get down to the households that are, again, look like the audience of who we want. So we can get relevant audience data and place that advertising into that home on the connected TV, on their mobile devices, and level up that understanding. So again, this is going back to when you're doing advertising, you want to be precise. And we have that ability to really target these areas and make sure that you're reaching out to the right person at the right time. And really, again, when we talk about the factors and why it matters is the precision is critical, right? We can get down to a very small area to target. Some of the locations like that I target, I have a different client that's in the home service world, and they target a lot of their competitors and other they're in lumber and other types of products like chairs and barn doors and all the kind of stuff. It's really interesting. But they target like the Home Depots, but they also target small kitchen and bath spaces that they have small showrooms, and we can get all the way down and target those physical buildings so that we can drive the message into that area to educate people that if you're getting a new kitchen and bath, you might be interested in this barn door for your remodel. So again, lots of different applications, and my job is to help clients really understand, how do we knit this all together so that not only are we targeting the right place, but we have the right message in the right place consistently hitting. And that goes to, again, unifying all these different pieces together. So one of the things that Simplify is really stressing to the clients that we work with is it's not just about geofencing, right? When we look at messaging, we want to make sure that you're reaching people in these different areas. And I can't stress enough, and this is something I've talked about in the past, video is a critical piece to storytelling. We are humans, and humans are innately designed to react to stories, right? So when the story is told on a large screen or a small screen, it connects your brand. As great as display ads are because they're inexpensive, video and connected TV allow for storytelling to really resonate. And as a marketer, hopefully you realize that. But having that message sit on the big screen elevates the brand. So again, when we do advertising, we want to hit all these things so that we're capturing the right person at the right time, and that the intent matters. So we can now drill down and get into, not only with Google's paid search product, but we can learn keyword intent. So as people are doing research, most of the clients that I work with, it's a 3 to 6 month period that they're trying to impact that messaging to that audience to make sure that those touch points are there so that when they do make the decision, that they come to us. So again, if you're sitting here listening to this and you're in the marketing world, you know that you have a lot of touch points that you have to get to. And then ultimately, when they do go to paid search, that if they already know you, have a higher likelihood of converting that business. And what we want to be able to do is make sure that your brand is elevated to that person so that they make the dots or they make the connections across the, from when they started the search to then ending the search. So, and social media is a big part of that, right? So again, Meta, TikTok, Snapchat, all these environments are where people are spending time scrolling and connecting and doing all the things that they do on paid social. And so it's another area that you have to make sure that your brand is impacting. So, and we can take that and live in these different environments. So again, as I talked about at the very beginning of this, search, social, and the rest of the web are where these audiences are. So we want to make sure that we're reaching them, tying it all together, and then making sure that you are connecting with these people even in the real world. I'm going to end on this. So out-of-home advertising is, again, one of the things that we've been doing. I've been doing it for a while, and Simplify has had the ability to do it the last couple of months. And it's really important that we take what we're doing in the digital environment and pull it out and do it in the real world. So when we talk about unified media, all of these things that are online are great, but now think about making your ad pop on these digital screens out in the real world. And that's how you can really make sure that you're resonating to the right person at the right time. And again, elevating your brand so that you can win more business. So if you have questions about building a unified media plan or how to put it all together, definitely reach out to me and I can give you some examples of what we've done for other clients. And then again, going back to the reporting, show you more importantly how it all works, right? And make sure that you can see the revenue that's generated from your marketing. So if you have questions, if you have anything that, again, that has brought to you, questions about geofencing or, Google or social media or digital out of home, I'm here to answer those for you and hopefully guide you through the process. So again, thank you for your time and have a blessed day.